So in this segment, we're going to be discussing Jaguar Land Rover demands £500 million in state aid to build a new factory in the UK. So Jaguar Land Rover is demanding £500 million in government aid to build a new battery plant in Britain. Indian parent company Tata Motors is threatening to base the manufacturing site in Spain unless Britain commits to £500 million in state aid, including energy subsidies and research funding. So I don't know if that's £500 million and energy subsidies and research funding, or is it all, included in the £500 million there? We also don't know what they're demanding from Spain either, in terms of subsidies, if any. And it's a funny old world, capitalist companies demanding money from capitalist countries is what some people would call more socialism in this context. But by pitting countries against each other makes sense. The UK is desperate to get car makers to set up shop in the UK. For UK car making to stand a chance, we need multiple battery plants. We don't even have one right now, I think. British Volt, or should I call it Australia Volt, because they were bought out by some Aussies, isn't looking at making car batteries for the most part, at least it's not their priority. They're looking at making it for other products. Tata is weeks from a decision on whether to construct the new gigafactory, the Times has reported, Financial Times. The hoped for investment would be one of the biggest government support measures for Britain's car industry, and comes at a time when Chancellor Jeremy Hunt has warned of acute pressure on public finances. And it's going to be a tricky one for Hunt, because on the one hand, he's arguing we have no money for tax cuts and to help people. On the other hand, some of these companies can demand huge subsidies to set up shop in the UK or go to another country. A lot of these companies don't have British owners anymore. They're happy to set up anywhere. There are good trading conditions. Spain are producing, I think, around 1/5 of Europe's electric cars, according to the FT from a while ago. So that means there'll be a lot of demand for the batteries in Spain. So the Spanish can offer that as one of the benefits instead of just pure subsidies, i.e. there are customers that are willing to buy the batteries and are ready to go. A decision by JLR not to source the batteries in the UK would be a body blow to the British automobile sector, damaging the country's international appeal to investors, according to industry leaders. UK car production dwindled last year to its lowest since the 1950s, following the closure of Honda's plant in Swindon, which has really negatively impacted the people of Swindon. We have spoken about that previously. Ministers previously supplied £100 million to Nissan to support its factory in Sunderland, while Vauxhall-owned Stellantis secured £30 million to make vans at Ellesmere Port. Andy Palmer, the former chief executive of Aston Martin and now chairman of European battery maker Innobot, said, quote, "The amount of money doesn't seem unreasonable. Obviously, electricity costs and energy costs in the UK are high, and Spain has some of the lowest energy costs in Europe. You would need to compensate for that difference," end quote. And another reason why the UK's failure over the energy crisis has been so bad, Spain has cheaper energy, and that's another selling point for Spain that is built in. The UK is struggling to sell itself to manufacturers to set up shop here. The government has already set aside £850 million to attract battery technologies to the UK. However, Mr. Palmer said the Treasury would need to commit, quote, "a lot more than that," end quote, to seed an electric car industry in Britain. Mr. Palmer estimated that Britain needed 6 gigafactories to support the manufacturing industry, which each costing an estimated £1 billion. If you imagine that £500 million could go to just JLR, that does not leave a lot left in the pot. Looks like JLR are expecting the UK to put up around half the cost of the factory at minimum. And if we need 6 all in, 6 of these factories, then the expectations from other companies could be that they also want the UK to front up similar costs, so near the $3 billion mark here potentially. With Brexit and our failure to help with the energy costs, the UK has put itself in a very bad position for business investment. Countries like Spain are the ones that we have to compete with, and they are just built different. Batteries are the single costliest component of an electric car, and industry executives are concerned about the long-term viability of car making in Britain if these crucial components are not made near manufacturing sites of cars. Palmer told BBC Radio 4 today's programme, quote, "The EU has made battery making one of its strategic measures. The US has introduced the Inflation Reduction Act that has made it very attractive to build batteries in the US," end quote. And we've spoken about this before. The EU and the US are getting into a subsidy battle instead of going to the WTO and making a court case. The US first said, "Oh, we're going to start doing massive subsidies," and the EU said, "Fine, bet we'll do it as well. Trying to become that they are trying to become the next hubs of green manufacturing wave. The UK is so far behind, and we don't even know it yet. The meta now is to have everything as close together as possible, for the battery car maker, the battery maker for the car, to be next to the car maker. So, for example, if Honda were buying the batteries to make in whatever car they wanted to make, they want the battery maker to be as close as possible. So if the UK does not secure the batteries, it makes car makers less likely want to build in the UK. That is why the collapse of Britishvolt was so bad. We are very much lost at sea here. And for Spain to get this, if Spain gets the gigafactory, then it's a further selling point for them to say to car makers, look, we already have more and more battery plants here. That means you have already supplied batteries, so you should set up shop here. Whilst the UK are going to have to tell these companies, we'll give you loads of money to set up the factory and the tooling, and if the energy costs are prohibitive, we'll fund that as well, or help you fund that. So it doesn't really help the UK in that sense, because we're spending money to buy jobs here, while Spain can say, well, we have everything to set up here. If you don't want to set up here, someone else will probably do it, and we have customers ready and waiting. And so that saves the taxpayer money directly, and you also still get the benefit of decent paying jobs within Spain, for example. So this is just the ridiculousness of the situation here. And like I said, we are very much lost at sea. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you can. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one.